Sidhu versus Channi, Congress versus Congress. 4 months before elections, after public showdowns, open sparring, both Sidhu and Channi sit on the same table and appear to smoke the peace pipe. The state party president and his CM, who were daggers drawn, now hold a joint press conference. Instead of attacking the other, they seem to have buried the hatchet, make election announcements.
हर दरिया या खड्ड ते रेते दा रेट 5 रुपये 50 पैसे होएगा। ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਇੰਸਟੀਟਿਊਸ਼ਨਲ ਟੈਕਸ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੇ ਲੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ ਕੈਬਨਿਟ ਨੇ ਪਾਸ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ 2012 ਤੋਂ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਟੈਕਸ ਬਣਦਾ ਸੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਮਾਫ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਅੱਗੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਟੈਕਸ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗੇਗਾ ਲੱਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ
Channi concedes to Sidhu's demands, accepts AG's resignation, will replace the DGP.
ਸਾਡੇ ਐਡਵੋਕੇਟ ਜਨਰਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਹੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਅਸਤੀਫਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ आज कैबिनेट ने उन्होंने मंजूर कर लिया। इस तो अलावा DGP की जी पोस्टिंग है जिन्हें 30 साल तो ऊपर दे एक कानून है जिन्हों की 30 साल नौकरी हो गई है उन्होंने ऐसी ऑलरेडी भेज चुके सारे के नाम सब तो सारे के नाम होंगे गए।
Sidhu Channi, भाई भाई, strategic play or uneasy truce? Top focus on To The Point this evening. Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. All of that action happening 4 months before Punjab goes to election. So is this strategic play that both of them sat on the same table till about yesterday? Sidhu was holding a press conference criticizing his own government. Or is this going to be rather uneasy? Because mind you, right now it looks like they've buried the hatchet, but in days to come when the ticket starts being distributed, they both want their pound of flesh. Let's cut across directly to our political strategist who we have. I have Sanjay Jha, who's been with the Congress, joins us in the capacity of a political analyst. Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, India Today TV. He's in the studio with me. Also is Harmeet Shah, senior editor, India Today TV. Harmeet looks at Punjab very closely. Rajdeep, let's begin with you. What we've seen in the last week, 10 days, where we have seen a constant, both Sidhu and Channi going at each other, shadow boxing, and now suddenly on the same table making election announcements. Do you think the hatchet is buried, or are we going to witness more rancor in days to come?
You know, before the show started, Harmeet made a point to me, good cop, bad cop. Sidhu and Channi. Channi is turning out to be... in a way, a surprise element because he's working enormously hard, energetic. Someone just told me he goes to sleep at 3 a.m., is up at 6 a.m. He has seen what being chief minister means. So he's desperate to hold on to that post. Sidhu is desperate to become the next chief minister. At the moment now, Sidhu knows he cannot become chief minister till the election. So he has to, in some way, remain within the Congress fold, but yet establish his own position. So he becomes, in a way, the opposition within. Within the Congress, you have Sidhu occupying, in a way, the anti-incumbency space, the space which till the other day was occupied by parties like the Aam Aadmi Party. So Sidhu plays the role of the opposition within. Channi plays the role of this energetic, fresh-faced chief minister. And you've got this arrangement of the kind that will, from time to time, lead to dissonance, but will not completely explode, at least till the election. You mentioned ticket distribution. That's when I think this power struggle, and it is a power struggle, will eventually perhaps become possibly an impediment for the Congress to manage. At the moment, Congress ke dono haath mein laddu hai because you've got Sidhu playing the role of the opposition and you've got Channi playing the role of the fresh-faced chief minister. The anti-incumbency that Amrinder Singh faced is arrested. Aam Aadmi Party is pushed slightly on the back foot. And the Akalis have not really been able to capitalize on the situation. And Channi every day is coming up with a new announcement that makes him a little bit more attractive to the voters. So while from an external perspective here in Delhi, we see this is a bizarre situation where the Congress chief is targeting his own chief minister. Maybe, just maybe, at least for now, it is a slight advantage to the Congress.
You know, that's what even, Harmeet, I want to bring you in. But before I just go across to Sanjay Jha, because we're going to talk a bit about, sitting here in studios, looking at it from a Delhi perspective is very different when you look at Sidhu, because a lot of people say he's going to self-detonate, he's going to bring down the Congress, his own popularity is an all-time low. we're going to talk a bit about it because you've been speaking to people in Punjab. You know the verb right now. But I want to cut across to Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, but the flip side of it all, with what, say, Harmeet says or what even Rajdeep added to, when ticket distribution happens, there's not just Channi versus Sidhu, because that shadow boxing is not going to stop. There's also going to be, in the midst of it, Amrinder Singh, because he's going to make sure that the Congress, and word has it that it's not about how he does, it's about how badly he makes the Congress candidate do.
Well, you know, Preeti, Navjot Singh Sidhu has been a cat among the pigeons. Now, in the corporate world, we use the term creative destruction very often to encourage a very disruptive thinking that very often works in your favor if the risks pay off. Now, where Navjot Singh Sidhu is concerned, I just want to give you a little bit of a caveat here. You know, in Maharashtra, and I will tell you, Rajdeep will probably understand what I'm saying because he understands Maharashtra politics very well. You will go back to the time when the Shiv Sena and the BJP used to be at loggerheads before an election, even during the campaign. But they had, in a sense, so captured the narrative that the NCP and the Congress did not really get any electoral benefit, because the perception amongst the people was that it's a battle between these two, and if they fix it, the game is up. The Congress, by default, I'm not saying the Congress has the political acumen to have done it by design, but even now, I'm getting some feelers from the people I know in Punjab that thanks to Sidhu's extremely, in my opinion, rather preposterous and atrocious comments, which I believe are frankly ridiculous. But at the end of the day, the general perception is if the Congress will implode, then somebody else has a chance. Otherwise, the Congress looks like it's in the flag position or a pole position, whatever you want to call it, that ultimately who is the alternative? That question that we raise on the national level probably also applies in Punjab. And I need to give you a certain circumspection here. I've been told that, with due respect to the captain, and I have massive respect for the man, I believe his ability to try and cobble up something with the BJP may actually not bear any electoral impact at all. Okay. So eventually, all this may actually end up helping Sidhu. And if he senses that wind somewhere, he's going to be desperately hungry to topple Channi if he can.
You know, maybe no electoral impact for himself or the BJP, but will it have an electoral impact on the Congress? But, you know, that's for another day. But I want to bring you in, Harmeet, on this, because, you know, most studio discussions today, especially on that, that press conference that went down about an hour back, are going to be centered around this destructive force, which is Sidhu, and he's going to pull down the Congress, that, his own popularity has, come down dramatically. Most political parties, like the Aam Aadmi Party, will tell you surveys indicate that Sidhu is no longer what he was, say, 2 months ago. But, you know, when we explore the other side of it, who's been in the news? There has been Navjot Singh Sidhu, who constantly is playing the role of the opposition. You don't see an Aam Aadmi Party, you don't see the Akalis here, and you see a Congress course correcting. He talks about the sand mafia. Channi comes and says, okay, there is action there. He says regularize people in terms of workspace. He comes, regularizes 36,000 workers.
You are right. I mean, in the sense that, let's play devil's advocate here. And if we play devil's advocate, yes, there is a larger narrative here in Delhi among political pundits that Sidhu is a destructive force. But when you see the other side of the story, then it's essentially a good cop, bad cop thing happening in Punjab. It's no longer a fictional construct. You see, one thing is very clear, that when Navjot Singh Sidhu, if he hadn't been there on the scene, Captain would have been in the saddle. If Captain would have been in the saddle, it would have been really harder for the Gandhis here to market Congress in Punjab in the midst of this farm agitation. So in a way, many issues, they stem from the Badar rule of 2007 and 17. And Congress is in a very good position to address them with Sidhu at helm. So in a way, till the ticket distribution happens, it's advantage Congress for now at least. And yes, where is Aam Aadmi Party? Where are the Badals? Badals can't speak because the issues Sidhu raises are issues that pertain to their rule, and there is Aam Aadmi Party, and given Sidhu's celebrity status everything is drowned out. Aam Aadmi Party is nowhere in the scene. You don't see it on national media talking about Punjab. Rather, they are only, you know, trying to sell their Delhi model, which I'm not too sure is really, you know, cutting eyes with voters in Punjab.
Rajdeep, you want to make a point?
No, look, first of all, I don't believe that this is some deliberate grand strategy of the Congress, good cop, bad cop. It's just the nature of Sidhu. You know, Sidhu is someone who simply, by his very nature, is an oppositional force. You know, he's most comfortable in a way in playing this anti-establishment figure. And it may suit the Congress today. Whether it will suit the Congress at election time, I don't know. And where I slightly differ with Harmeet is I would not rule out the Aam Aadmi Party as easy as he is ruling out. The Aam Aadmi Party's problem at the moment is they don't have a face. And Bhagwan Maan has been dishing. No, that's a big problem. No, it is. But who don't? If that is resolved within the next month, as I am told it's going to be, that's what Aam Aadmi Party says. Look, there is still sufficient anti-establishment feeling in Punjab. The 4 years and 6 months of Amrinder Singh are not going to disappear overnight because of 3 months of Channi. Let's be clear. Aam Aadmi Party should not be written off as easily as Harmeet is writing them off at the moment.
No, but the Aam Aadmi Party is also lying low because they feel they peaked too early last time round.
Look, last time was different. I think you have to also remember you've had 10 years of Akali rule and you've had 5 years of Congress rule. The people of Punjab, every poll has shown, every opinion poll has shown are looking for change. Now, Channi and Sidhu are hoping to be these agents of change. Sidhu by being the anti-establishment figure and Channi by showing his populist energy. They may well succeed. As I said, by default today, I believe the Congress has the edge. However, there are 2 months to go for the election. Much could change. The BJP could amend farm laws and tie up with Amrinder Singh. You have the possibility of the Aam Aadmi Party putting up a face in Punjab. We don't know whether that face will be credible enough, but that's the direction in which they are moving. I think the Akalis are possibly at the moment well organized, but don't have the issues that will attract them to people. I still think, if I was a betting man and I'm not, Punjab still is looking all to play for all parties. Remember, it's a state with 117 seats and therefore there will be a fight seat to seat. To sweep Punjab is not going to be easy for any party at the moment.
Well, okay, I want to bring in Sanjay Jha again, and Sanjay Jha, we'll just again talk about the Congress dynamics, because let's say about till 3 weeks ago, it didn't look very comfortable at all. It was like, okay, Congress is imploding, it's Congress versus Congress, not that it's not right now, but they seem to be, without anything that they've done, in a more comfortable position than they were looking at, like say 3 weeks ago.
Preeti, let me tell you, I can give you an analogy of what Sidhu's role currently is. He's reminding me of Donald Trump within the Republican camp. You know, somebody who basically makes outrageous statements, challenges the party itself, is threatening the Congress leadership, who, by the way, is accused of actually having put him in that top job. So you're seeing a very, in a sense, a theatrical farce if you look at it from a very intellectual standpoint. Forget that for the moment. I agree with one of the views I think Hardeep mentioned. If you look at the ground level, and I'm telling you this from some very solid feedback, what Navjot Singh Sidhu is doing is understanding the raw basic instincts of the electorate. Now, some people have it, some don't. He's not playing any game of ideology, etc. He's playing hard nut and bolts politics. So sacrilege issue, he's going back and back on it and saying, I own it. So tomorrow, if the Congress were to do well in Punjab, it's his claim. And I do believe that the Congress has seized the narrative. You see, politics is something that, in my experience, goes through its remarkable ups and downs. Despite the fact that I think the Congress handled it in a very ham-handed way, I agreed with Rajdeep, there's no grand design behind it. But the way it's working out, it's advantage Congress, in my opinion.
Okay.
Shrimoni Akali Dal, BJP, Captain Amrinder, they are all actually falling by the wayside. The question in the mind of the voter is, will the Congress really be able to get the numbers they had last time?
Right.
But at the moment, it seems to be right ahead in the game.
But Harmeet, that's the bizarre part. Because, the strange part is every day we're in the same studio talking about Sidhu, one day calling him mercurial, the other day calling him a maverick, or, whichever way, that goes. But I want to ask you, Harmeet, how does it go from here on right now? Because what is the verb that you're picking up on the ground? The people that you're talking to, are they buying into what Sidhu's saying? Because he's going directly for the jugular. If Amrinder Singh never talked about sacrilege, he's going on harping on that. He talks very openly about the Akalis. He talks very openly about the drug mafia. So he's going directly for the jugular. Are people buying it?
You see, that's the point here. He is seizing the opposition space. Akalis are nowhere. Akalis, I mean, till last elections, Akalis were the main force in Punjab. They were reduced to number 2 in opposition space. Now that space is gone. That space is taken by Sidhu. Akalis can't talk about, sacrilege because that happened in under their rule. Akalis can't talk about drugs because they're accused of promoting drug mafia. Akalis can't talk about business mafias again because that all is again, all these issues come at them. So it's Sidhu who has captured the opposition space. And where is
Has he taken away the sacrilege issue from the Akalis?
Sorry?
Has he taken away the sacrilege issue from the Akalis?
Sacrilege issue was never with the Akalis because they're accused of perpetrating it. That's the point. He cannot. He is there, and he has. When Sukhbir Badal says that he is a misguided missile, he is right in saying so because at his one attack is there on Akalis themselves, especially on Sukhbir Badal and Majithia. This is what he is doing, and they are on the defensive rather.
Okay.
So I think yes, Sidhu is mercurial, Sidhu is maverick. You can use n number of adjectives for him, but the fact of the matter is he has taken opposition space. As of now, we don't know about what happens after tickets are distributed or that real power struggle takes shape after the court comes into force.
The fact is that Sidhu has caused the maximum damage, ironically, to the Aam Aadmi Party.
Yes.
You see, the positioning that he has done has taken over that anti-establishment space. Channi faces the 4.5 years of anti-incumbency of Amrinder Singh, which will not be easy for any chief minister to wipe out in 3 months. But as I said, he is doing remarkably well as an energetic leader. He's younger, he's out there, he's every day making some announcement, he's grabbing all the eyeballs.
No, he's from the grassroots and he's ambitious.
He's ambitious. You see, he's shown that if you effect a generational change, the next generation, wants to prove itself. So he's someone who knows he has a limited amount of time. If he gets the next 3 months right, he's there for the next 5 years. That's where the problem comes, because Sidhu
wants to be CM.
Is at the moment ready to play ball up to possibly while continuously poking Channi on various issues till the elections. What happens in that run up to the elections? At the moment, I'm told we'll have posters with both Channi and Sidhu's face. All that is all very well at the moment. The Congress's capacity still for the last mile connectivity is where the Congress will have to get its act together. At the moment, advantage Congress.
Okay.
But picture I still think in Punjab abhi baki hai. This election is not over in Punjab by a long shot.
Anmit, you want to get a word in?
Yes, I just want to say
10
here
seconds.
that, yes, 10 seconds. So in 10 seconds, I'll sum it up. You have good cop, bad cop. In one sense, there is one dominating figure who is Sidhu, and there is one agreeable friend who is Channi. So,
How agreeable is Channi is the problem?
Channi is agreeable. He is agreeing to everything, whatever Sidhu raises.
No, he's terribly upset about it.
No, he might be upset, off the record, but in public perception, he is doing whatever Sidhu says because that also suits him. If you attack Badals, you are in a win-win situation, and there is no opposition, there is no Aam Aadmi Party. So it's advantage Congress.
All right, Sanjay Jha, will the Congress be looking at it slightly more relieved than what it was, say, 2 weeks ago, the situation in Punjab?
I think so. I do believe that if you look at the Himachal Pradesh by-election results, Preeti, I think the Congress actually has a good chance in Uttarakhand and Punjab. I don't know how they're handling Goa, although I wish they got their act earlier. But I think it's advantage Congress, Preeti. And I do believe that the winds at the moment tell you that a party that is able to generate a little degree of hysteria in its favor, even if at times it looks chaotic, actually is a political benefit.
Okay, all right. All right, gentlemen, appreciate all three of you joining us. We're going to keep a keen eye. 4 months is still a very long time when you're going into elections. Where does the Aam Aadmi Party come into all of this? Importantly, what is the captain going to do? Because a lot of people seem to suggest, political pundits, that he's going to play against the Congress. A quick break to stay with us. Up next is Rahul Kanwar.